Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books, what a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together, what a yummy snack. PBJamz, yummy books and music. PBJamz, reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz.
Good morning or afternoon, whenever you are joining us. We are especially stoked and excited to have you because we are celebrating 2 years of PBJamz. It is unbelievable that we have been doing this for 2 years, and I have with me tonight some special guests. These are folks that have been with me before on PBJamz, and we're just going to have a grand conversation tonight. Was tonight for us, may not be for you, but tonight for us. May not quite as tonight for Nancy, I guess, as it is for the rest of us, but we're just going to have a grand conversation tonight about music and picture books in the classroom, and hopefully you will find some nuggets in there that you can either take to your classroom or to your writing, and find some things that you can use and hold on to. So thank you for joining us, and thank all of you, Nancy, Jolene, Melanie, and Reka, for being here. I want to give my guests a chance to introduce themselves and tell you a little about them and what they're up to right now and any fun projects that they have going. So, Nancy, we'll start with you.
Hey, I'm Nancy Stewart. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, where we've had lovely weather. And I'm a singer-songwriter, actually, so that's how I come into this field. I've been singing and performing for children for, like 40 years. Before that, I was in a band, so my life has always been music. But I am drawn to the connection between literacy and music. That's my big passion. I do use a lot of published picture books that have songs. I'm very picky about them, but I use them a lot. I have illustrations for a lot of my songs. I have 2 websites, hundreds of songs that I've written that are used by teachers and librarians in the classroom. They really stress all the early literacy skills, which is what I do in the libraries. I do programs that are entertaining, but I'm sneaking in all the early literacy. So I am a big fan of PBJamz and everything all of you are doing. And I have 2 websites. That's the only other thing I'll say. And everything on my websites is free, and there are no ads because I am so tired of ads. So I kind of set it up like the public library. So my music is just there for teachers and librarians and parents and grandparents to use, along with the sheet music and everything you need, including printable books. So that's my spiel. My websites are Nancy Music and Sing With Our Kids, which is a community project and information website.
And they're both wonderful. And I will link up the episode with Nancy below in all the write-up, and also the links to her websites. And they are fabulous. And I've actually used a couple of her songs for programs, concerts that I'm doing with my kids, because she is so kind to make those available. She has the MP3 accompaniment oftentimes and a sample and the sheet music, as she said. So just plus all the great literature and follow-up activities. Just there for you and free. It's all free. It's amazing. Really wonderful. So Jolene, you're next on my screen, so I'm going to go to you next.
Okay. Well, I'm Jolene Gutierrez. I am a teacher librarian and an author here in Denver, Colorado. And I've been a teacher librarian for quite some time. I work at a school for neurodivergent learners, 1st through 12th grade. And so my books, I pulled some of my books to show them, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
My books feature a lot of SEL kinds of topics. So Too Much is my most recent one. It's Too Much, An Overwhelming Day. This is all about sensory sensitivities and sensory processing disorder based on my own experiences and my own kids' experiences. And then Mac and Cheese and the Personal Space Invader is about friendship and personal space and figuring that all out. I also worked with Annie Lynn, who isn't here with us tonight, but Annie created a song. I helped a little bit with lyrics, but she did the majority of it, called Space Creator, and that's available on Annie's YouTube channel, and it's on my website as well. It could be used along with this book, but also alone, just kind of teaching personal space. And my website is jolenegutierrez.com. I have a couple of books coming in the near future. Both are with my kids. This August 2024, I have The Ofrenda That We Built. It's a Day of the Dead picture book with my daughter. And then January 2025, with my son, I have Mamiachi and Me, my mommy's mariachi band, and that will be that's a picture book as well, and I'm really excited about tying music to that story.
Yes, and that one is coming to PBJ.
Yes, yes.
Yes, so excited. Both of those I'm really looking forward to. And I will also link up the episode to with Jolene, because we did talk about mac and cheese and the personal space invader, and Annie's song is all linked up in there. So we'll get that there for you as well below. But yes, so many great things, and I'm super excited to get to have Jolene on again. It's gonna be a little while, but I'm ready. I'm ready.
Thank you.
Love it. All right, Melanie, you are up next.
Hi, I'm Melanie Ellsworth, and that's really cool about Jolene writing with your kids. It makes me think I want to do that. I hope I can do that with my daughter someday.
Yes.
That's really would be great. So I'm in Maine, and it's a little cold here today, but we're getting through. And I was on PBJamz, I think it was 2023, I believe, with clarinet and trumpet, which I have here.
Oh, yeah.
And this came out in 2022. And it's a friendship tale about instruments in the band. So it was based on my musical background. I had training in piano and clarinet and a little bit of saxophone throughout my school years. And later on, I went on to get a Master's of Education in Language and Literacy and to start writing. First, I taught ESOL, and then later on, I worked as a literacy specialist. And now I'm a writer, and I have 3 books out right now. I have Clarinet and Trumpet and Hip Hip Hooray. And my newest one is Battle of the Books. And it's just got a Korean version as well, which was neat to see. So it's fun to like compare the characters and look and flip through, even though I don't read Korean or speak it. But it's really fun to see how it was translated. So I'm glad to be back here again and celebrating PBJam's 2nd birthday. Congratulations to Tani.
Yeah, congratulations to you. How exciting, a Korean translation. That is awesome. Yeah, super fun.
And I should have mentioned, for all of these books, I have a website, melanieellsworth.com, and I have some teacher resources on the website as well.
Yes, and clarinet and trumpet is the one that she was here for. And again, I'll link up that episode again in case you missed it earlier, and all the resources that go with that book. Such a fun book, full of wordplay and lots of music puns, which we're actually going to talk about in our grand conversation a little bit tonight. So thank you, Melanie. All right, Miss Reika, we are up to you.
So hi, everyone. I'm Reika. I'm Reika Rajan. I love that we are all over. I'm in Chicago. Yes. Tani, you're gonna do a PBJamz from Mars one day. I can feel we're gonna reach the world. I was actually reflecting on how we originally connected, and I can't remember if I reached out to you or you reached out to me, but the bottom line is the love of music and books. And I think I just have to start by saying thank you for doing what you're doing, because it's incredible how you brought people together, and to find how many people love music and books in this way. My background really quickly is opera and musical theater. I was a performer for many years in Chicago, then got into teaching young children, then was a professor for 15, 20 years, did my doctorate at Columbia, went off to New York City, and really focused on early childhood music education, published articles, all the things you do as a faculty member, right? And then books for teachers and all of that, but always loved writing. And I'm really thrilled to be able to say that I'm able to write books every day about music and STEM and STEAM. And the series that, and that's what I'm going to actually, it just finished. All 4 books are published. It's a board book series with Penguin. And it's all about music, but making music accessible. So we have drums and then horns, voice, which was the latest one, kind of my favorite, a little biased, but then and strings. What is lovely about these is that it really takes an approach, and when I was working with the publisher to write these, is to help families understand that while it seems it's really expensive to take music lessons or have instruments, music is really all around us. And I think that's something that really became augmented for me as a professor and at the time as a teacher during COVID, when a lot of music teachers were losing their jobs and people were reaching out. I'm also been the editor for a journal with the National Association for Music Education. And so always having a platform to say, this is what's happening with music education in our country. And so, for example, with drums, yes, of course, we know what a typical drum is, but your tummy could be a drum or a tabletop could be a drum. And strings, you could use a Kleenex box and some rubber bands and make a string instrument. So thinking of our youngest learners and how to help them see that instruments and music are really all around us. One of the things I've always gotten as a professor, as a researcher, as a musician is like, why are books so important and music so important for young children? And I always say, think about how we teach the alphabet. We sing it. And it doesn't even matter what country, what culture, we always have a way to teach the alphabet through music. So that's very much a part of the way I write. I have my latest picture book back there, Can You Dance Like a Peacock? Again, tapping into my STEM background. It's, excuse me, all about how different animals and insects move and dance. Very interactive. So in the school visits I do, we do a dance break, which is part of the book. Everybody gets up, we dance as bees or we dance as flamingos. So that other piece of getting kids to feel the rhythm and the nuances of, the language that's in books too, right? I feel like even if it's not a book that's a song, there is a lyrical quality to books that teaches reading fluency, all of those wonderful things. And I think that's why it's such a beautiful marriage to bring music and books together. I recently was just able to announce that the same publisher that Penguin that did these, my board book series on dance is going to be coming out next year. Yes. And so that's going to have a book about ballet, again, taking a very global approach, one on hip hop and then one on jazz. So super excited about that project coming out. And then Tony, to segue to you, you're amazing. You have championed so many people. I'm so thrilled for your project to come out, and thank you for the opportunity to bring us all together here.
Oh, I love it. It was so fun to listen to all the backgrounds as you guys were talking. And, we have teachers and we have musicians and most of us have some sort of background in music. For myself, which probably everybody knows, but so I teach music K2 now in a small town school in North Carolina. And I didn't start out, I taught second grade for 17 years. So I kind of transitioned, but I am a trumpeter from middle grade forward. And so that's really my only instrument. I do love to sing and sang in worship team in my churches in various places. So that's kind of my music background, but I am loving PBJamz came together because when I got into the music classroom and then I got into the kidlit community, I'm like, they seem far apart, but they're so connected. And so I just wanted to strengthen those connections. And I wanted to take what I love and just bring it kind of full circle with all those areas. So my hope is that PBJamz is reaching teachers in the regular classroom, that it's reaching music teachers in the music classroom, that it's reaching authors who, are just starting out, and maybe ones who are not just starting out, that it's reaching the kidlit world, and that it's reaching other people who love literature and books, families and librarians and preschools and daycares and all of that. So it's a big task. I remember when I very first started and I was inviting people to come on, and I think it was Jana Matthias, and I had messaged her about her book, Here We Come, which was one of the first, well, not one of the first, but it did become an episode later. And when I first messaged her, she's like, I don't know. That seems like an awfully tall order that you're dishing up for yourself there. And, I appreciate the offer, but I think I'm just going to kind of hang back and see how it goes. And then a few months later, she messaged me and she goes, "Oh my goodness, you did everything you said you were going to do. You delivered everything you said you were going to deliver. And it was awesome and amazing." And so then she agreed to come on and do an episode. So, it's just been a really fun journey, and I'm learning as I go. I mean, I don't always do this, but sometimes I do just kind of dive into the deep end. And that's what I did with PBJamz because I didn't know how to do any of this when I started. But it has been a really fun learning experience. And the most fun for me is meeting all of you guys and the friendships that have developed. I mean, I think Reika and I have been together for so many episodes now, and she's coming back on to do Can You Dance Like a Peacock? We're interviewing later this month for that. And she's going to be back, obviously, for dance. So that's exciting. And Jolene and I've connected a couple of different places. And so, I mean, you guys feel like my friends now. I mean, I value you as my friends. And I love that music and literature has brought us together in these really fun and special ways, and getting to highlight your beautiful books. And then it's also inspired me to put music back into my own writing. And so originally, I mean, it showed up a little bit here and there, but the more I did PBJamz, I'm like, oh, and I could write about this, and I could write about this. And so, amazingly and wonderfully, my debut book is coming out not until 2026. It seems like such a long wait, but it's going to be here fast. I know it's going to go fast, but it is actually a PBJamz. I wrote my very own PBJamz, and so we will do this again when that comes out, and we'll celebrate big time. So super excited. 2026 spring, and that title is Music Plants Hope. So it's not the original title that we started with, but yeah, it is. It's a lyrical retelling of the concert in Barcelona, Spain during the pandemic, where they brought in house plants and they filled up the Liceo Opera House with plants, and the Uccelli String Quartet played music for the plants. And then they took those plants and they donated them to the healthcare workers in Barcelona. And so, it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. And yeah, so I'm super excited to be able to bring the words of that to life. I don't yet have an illustrator, so that'll be hopefully something that I get to share pretty soon when they get all that worked out. But yeah, super fun. I'm glad to count myself among these author friends of mine, and with Nancy being an educator of young people in music. So just a fabulous panel to talk about these topics tonight. So thanks again, ladies, for being here and for being my friend, and for sharing music and literature with me, and whoever else is willing to listen to us yab on. It's just it's good work that we're doing, I think. So thanks for being part of it. One of the questions that has come up was, and I've kind of grouped some things, and we're kind of moving from a little more specific to a little more ethereal. So a very practical question to start is, for the teachers, how can I incorporate music with my teaching? So just kind of weigh in, whoever. We're not going to be really formal. If anything, PBJamz is very informal. So just dive in if you have something to share about incorporating music into teaching.
Well, for me, since I do so many library programs, there's usually a theme, and I go to the library first, and I usually, like if I have a science show, I'll go check out a couple of easy nonfiction books, and I take them home, because as I tell teachers, and I tell parents this, the easy nonfiction take all the very fun facts about a topic, and they're condensed down, and they're there, and so you that's all you need. And then that always becomes a basis of a song, so that when I go back into the classroom with kids, because I visit, I bring a book with me and I share the book. And then after the book, then we reinforce it with a song. And it's so funny because one of my recordings is Sing a Song of Science, and it's, you know, gravity and electricity, and it's got a pulley song and all kinds of things. And I have parents come up with 2-year-olds and say, everybody thinks my child is brilliant because they're just spouting off all these facts about science. And it's, you know, so if you have a book which you're more comfortable with, and you introduce the book, and then you just have a simple song that's simple enough that the kids can sing it with you, you know, the way music works, it just burns that into your brain, and in a joyful way, and in a way that comes naturally to kids. So I would use a book and then reinforce it with a simple song, a very simple song.
Love that. That's a great way. That's a great way.
For me, when I'm teaching, and I teach a lot of social justice, picture book biographies, and we research around those topics. But depending on what the topic is, if there's a way to pull music in, you know, and play songs from that era or from that person or from that place, it's just another way to ground my kids in what we're studying and make it as sensory as possible. So we definitely do a lot of that. And then just repetition of things with a rhythm. I don't sing all the time or anything like that to them, but even with like bibliographies, we've just been working on bibliographies. So it's last name, comma, first name, period, last name, you know, like, and it's again, burning it into their brains.
Yep.
Like you said, Nancy, and I tell them, you know, we practice this each time so that hopefully this will stick in your brain. And when you sit down to write a bibliography, you're going to have my voice saying that and your voice repeating it. Because I think that helps them learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yes.
And the other thing about music, of course, is it's a language of emotion. And so, you know, kids that may not respond to reading or to the written word, you cannot help yourself from responding when there's music. It's just a direct connection. You know, you think about it, we are born with the music system in place, ready to go at day one. Whereas reading is something that has to be learned, and especially in the United States, well, English is such a difficult language. So, you know, the music just cuts through, and I think I think not just in school, but I think in life in general, we all would be so much better off if we use music all the time and everything, because it's kind of a survival skill. Well, it is a survival skill that we've kind of lost track of.
That reminds me that I heard about a chorus, and I think it was somewhere in Florida, where people will bring a friend with Alzheimer's or a loved one, and they sing in this chorus together, because everybody remembers music, you know, and they can remember words, and if they go with a song, it seems. So it's a neat, a great memory tool, and a way to bring people together when they otherwise have kind of been left out, you know, of the social fabric, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually been doing some memory care concerts lately. Just accidentally stumbled into it, and because I have lyrics on Sing with Our Kids, my website, so people can follow along, and for people with memory issues, they still can read, and they felt so empowered having the lyrics in front of them and reading. And one thing I think that helps adults be more comfortable singing is if they have lyrics in front of them. It's an interesting bridge, but yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Lyrics and music is the first thing that gets into our system. It's the last thing to leave our bodies when we die. It's incredible. So combining that with the books that you're all doing, that's just yay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Reiki, you look like you were going to say something. Were you going to weigh in?
I mean, I have so much I could add to this. My background's early childhood music, right? And so when I'm doing an author visit and they tell me, the school says, oh, there's 300 kids, you know, I don't know if you can. I said, listen, I'm a music teacher. I got this. I'm not going to scream in the microphone. So for example, with Can You Dance Like a Peacock? I don't need to scream and say, everybody sit down, everybody, we're going to dance. It's what I do is I bring a bunch of instruments always. And that itself is fascinating for children. We have to realize that not everybody has the access to instruments that we assume that they do. I was lucky to have been gifted a piano from my dad's aunt because his cousin didn't want to play it anymore when she was 7, and I loved it. And she said, Rachel loves it. So, but who can afford a piano? It's a gift and I have it. So when I do my author events, even if my book isn't about music, Jolene, like you said, I will still bring instruments. I will still bring them, find a way to connect it to something in the history, because that's an entry point. I'll strum my ukulele and say, when you hear the ukulele and everybody's screaming, it's a guitar and violin. And that there is also a conversation. Yes, they're part of the same family. But if you hear it, you're going to sit down. If you hear the drum, you're going to stand up and dance. After the first time, the kids are so engaged and the teachers are, how did you, that's the power of music. And that's one piece. And to your point, Nancy, my husband does Alzheimer's research, and he has been for 20 years. And we've published together on the power of music, attending live performances. We did a very big study that shows that the more frequently you attend, simply the experience of being in the audience when you're an older adult can strengthen your brain. What does that say about our lifetime of being engaged in music? And I just think for me as well, as a teacher and working with teachers, one of the things I get the most for teachers, not music teachers, general education teachers, I can't sing, I don't have a good voice, da, da, da. And I will always say this, I can promise you there will never be a class of 3-year-olds that will make fun of you if you're singing. They will be cheering and applauding and singing along. A lot of that are those things that we put on ourselves. So it's just the power of what music does for all of us.
Yeah, when I was in the regular classroom, I did a presentation for our reading conference in North Carolina, and I outlined 5 ways that regular teachers can use music in their classroom. And it was things like some of you have already mentioned, management, like what Rachel was talking about. If you hear this, then the teacher I student taught with would always say, if she always had quiet music playing, and she would just very quietly say, if I can't hear the music, you're too loud. If you can't hear the music, you're too loud. And so that management piece, the transitions, it's amazing. Even if it doesn't connect with curriculum, like just the value of a good morning song, building community, and, or those songs of transition that when you hear the bell, when you hear this sound, it's going to tell you what to do. And I don't have to say a word, those are just beautiful pieces. But when you add in the curriculum, and you add in merriment was one, I had 5 M's, management, memory, material, and, management was one of the ones, but material, the curriculum, when you add all the connections in that you can do with that, like Nancy was talking, reinforcing the things that you're learning. I mean, I learned the preamble to the Constitution. I mean, I'm showing my age here, right? But I learned it from Schoolhouse Rock, and I can say it, but I am singing it in the back of my head. The song is playing in the back of my head. And so I think, absolutely it increases the retention, the repetition that Jolene was talking about, just constantly going over and over. And then you add in the rhythms and even if you're not singing, that rhythmic pattern still, it just makes a huge difference, and it makes it so much easier for kids to grasp and easier for them to recall it, and there's a lot of, neurological research that talks about myelination and how you're building those pathways. And it's like a dog that treads a path around its fence, right? And you can tell where the dog goes because he goes the same way every time. And the more we do that in different ways, we build more of those pathways in our brain. I tell my kids often, especially in the regular classroom when I was teaching everything, which I teach everything anyway, because that's just how I roll. But it's just what I do. But I would tell them, your brain is like a filing cabinet, right? And so sometimes when I'm looking for something, I'm not really sure where did I file that? And so sometimes I'll put it here and here and here. So I make sure that whichever way I'm looking for it, I'm going to find it, right? So if I'm talking about apples, I might put it in foods, or I might put it in fruits, or I might put it in things I like to eat, or, trees that grow in my yard. And if I'm putting it in all those places, it's going to be easier for me to recall it or to find it when I'm looking through my filing cabinet, and so I think music is just a great way to put things into a different filing drawer that's going to make it easier for kids to recall it when they need to.
Another thing about music, as far as using it in the classroom, and a reason to use it in the classroom, is so many kids these days, and this is what my community project is about, are not even hearing music in their homes. So we don't have a common collection of songs we all know so that we can get together and sing. I noticed that children and a lot of adults, frankly, in my workshops cannot just clap a steady beat. It's just all over the place. And that's why I actually started my project. But to give children an experience in the classroom they may not get at home or in their communities, where they hear music, because like you were saying, the preamble, well, when I was very young, learned how to spell encyclopedia. I'm not even sure I knew what the letters were, but encyclopedia, ENCYCLOPEDIA. It's burned in my brain, and I have connected to that a wonderful, warm memory of Walt Disney and Jiminy Cricket. So when music is played in the classroom, you're giving such a gift to children. They will remember that music made them feel safe or comforted, or whatever it was that was attached to that. That's what carries the memories forward. So that's something teachers can do. They may not even realize they're doing, that goes well beyond the year they have the kids, their entire lives. They'll have a memory of, my teacher used to play this song, and every time I walked into the room, and now whenever I hear that song, I am transported back to that place and time. So that's like a whole other reason to use music in the classroom in any way you can. And there's so many ways to do it. So many ways.
Absolutely. When I was teaching second grade, I had this guy, his name was Marquise, and Marquise was he was a tough kid, right? He big, burly black kid, bigger than a lot of the other kids in the class. And he was a little troubled sometimes and would have a hard time self-regulating and things like that. He didn't like to lose face, so you couldn't call him out. I mean, if you did, he would just like shut down, and it would be really bad. But I would, of course, often play music, and I would play Puff the Magic Dragon was one of our, like, just kind of calm, and this big strapping black kid just latched on to that song. And at the time, I was in a school that went up to 6th grade, and all the way through to 6th grade, Marquise would come to my door whenever he could break away, and he would go, "Miss Fletcher, can you play Puff the Magic Dragon for me?" And he would just pop in after school, or he would, and I mean, he was, like, he was not one of your easy kids, but and not the kind of song that you would even think, would connect with him. But that connection that you're talking about, Nancy, is so
exactly that's it. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and every time now I hear that song, who do I think about? Marquise.
See,
I mean,
it's exponential. Yeah.
Oh, come on, Tani, you're thinking about the dragon.
Like I said,
it's interesting. It's interesting how you
cartoon.
I always tell parents and teachers that using
so lovely.
songs,
that's so lovely.
Yeah, it is. Using songs is like having a remote control for kids. You just do a certain thing and you get a response, and it's so predictable. And of course, marketers know this. They know how to keep us in a store longer and make us buy stuff. But here in Seattle, King County Library system is one of the biggest systems in the country. And there was a branch that was having trouble with gangs gathering outside, and it was kind of intimidating patrons. And so somebody got the brilliant idea to broadcast opera from speakers outside the library. Now, you cannot be involved in serious gang behavior when there's opera playing. So,
Nancy, I might argue that there's probably an opera written somewhere that as the cast. I'll have to dig. Did Verity do something?
Yeah. No,
That's
it's
so
great.
amazing.
But I mean, it cut down on the activity, didn't it, Nancy?
Oh,
Or-
yeah, yeah, it was not a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, yeah. The
Scare
power.
them away with opera.
I think they did
Love
the
it.
same thing with Barry Manilow in prison, so that's a whole different.
That's funny. That is funny. So
I wonder if I was just thinking about TikTok, and how big that is right now with kids, and how most of those videos are attached to music of some kind, and
Yeah.
how that how that impacts
Yeah,
or how that pulls kids in.
yes, yes,
in positive and negative ways. But you know, if
yes.
we could oftentimes I think if we could just harness the good things about those things, like I'm not a huge fan of TikTok, and it really hurts my heart when I have kindergartners and first graders and second graders that are just watching it without any filters and without
Oh,
any,
yes.
it just hurts my teacher heart.
Yeah.
But I watch my kids come down the sidewalk and they're doing these TikTok dances together.
Mhm.
And talk
Yeah.
about again building community and some of those things. It's not all bad, and there's
Right.
probably some good that we could glean from it. I tend to be more, you're too young to be watching TikTok. You shouldn't
Yes,
be watching
yes,
TikTok. Get off TikTok.
yes.
But maybe there's ways that we could bring TikTok into the appropriate parts of TikTok, that we could bring it in and make it more I mean use it to help build the community and in a way that they're super engaged already, right?
You need to write a picture book about it, Tani.
Yeah, there you
Totally.
go.
Yes.
There you go.
Totally
It'll
could.
be a bestseller.
Yeah,
We'll see. Maybe so. You never know.
with a catchy little song.
Yes, with a catchy
Yeah,
little song.
my daughter loves Taylor Swift, and so somebody made a TikTok about all of her album titles,
Oh,
and they put it
gosh.
to a little song. So now my daughter knows all the album
All the
titles,
albums.
because just like we've memorized things
Yep.
through song, she's memorized
Yeah.
these titles that way.
Wow.
I mean, it's music is amazing. It
Yeah.
really
It is.
is. Yeah.
Songish books and bookish songs, tips for music teachers, interviews and book reviews, a little singing and dancing. PBJamz, yummy books and music. PBJamz, reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz, jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. We'll see